Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 14. Can't believe it's 14 already of Culture Talks. And you'll notice today it's myself and Sean. And the reason for this video or the topic of this video is going to be a really new and exciting service that we are launching. I'll let Sean do a bit more detail on it, but it's called Impact Community. Community, if I could speak. And the whole point of Impact Community is, I suppose, a cog in the reel that we're trying to get to our vision. So, Sean, do you want to give a wee bit of an idea of what I'm referring to there?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something that's come up quite regular for us throughout the whole process since we actually started the business, as you know. And it's basically, we've been asked quite a bit, from the work that we do, are we a social enterprise? So we didn't know if we were giving out the wrong message or if we just go with what we've done, because this is what we naturally done. So obviously the main emphasis of where Impact has been to impact the culture of organizations. But we know that organizations spans more than organizations. It's a bigger picture that needs to be addressed. And for us, community has always been something that we've been very focused on. We've always been very focused on just encouraging people, developing people in general, and bringing people into the workplace. And we've had a lot of experience in our own background working with people who are trying to get back into work, people who have been out of work for a long time, short periods, they can't get back in, and just generally supporting them. And that support has ranged from a real focus on mindset and just getting in a positive mindset and understanding what getting back into the workplace takes, and stay in the workplace as well, which is something that we're really emphasizing as a sort of, I mean, a lot of times we've seen groups organizations, steps to work programs, where they're happy to get people in the workplace, and that's fair enough, and do great work doing that. But a lot of the people that go in just don't stay because they're not ready for it, they're not properly prepared for it. Now, they may have had a great CV, they may have learned interview skills, and they may think they're ready to go in there, but when you go into an organization, it can be quite difficult to fit into a culture that's already been developed. And every organization has a culture, whether it's a positive one or a negative one. It can be very difficult for someone in them circumstances to fit in there. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah. Sorry, I think I'm scrambling up a bit there. I think for me, it's important to understand that people working in different organizations, whether it's community-based, whether it's charity, steps to work type training organizations, those types of people are going to be really motivated. I think that they are doing that type of job most times, I would imagine, for a reason. They're doing it because they love working with people, they love seeing the outcomes, but also they're people. So you're going to sometimes feel a lack of motivation. I think it's fair to say that even if you are doing some really important work and working with young people or working with people who are disadvantaged in disadvantaged areas, you can still have that lack of motivation sometimes, even though you know the outputs of what you're doing are so important. So I think it's a very fair point.
I mean, culture obviously exists everywhere. It's not just within organizations. It's within your own home. You have a culture. Within a community, you have a culture. And there's so many community groups out there who are really trying to do their best to make their community the best community it can be, to bring out its full potential. But it's hard work. It's not easy to do. And it obviously depends on what the community is, where it is. And as you have areas that are socially deprived, which are facing really big challenges there, because you have so much going on. And we would automatically kind of, I suppose, because our experience within the actual workplace itself has been very much focused on younger people. But of course, in the Steps to Work programs that we've worked with, there's been all the ages involved in that. And it's nearly the same problems that exist. And a lot of times it comes down to mindset, down to their mentality, because from a young age, a lot of people are put down, told they're not good enough. And we know that that's not true. Everybody has the same potential to do well. And sometimes there are people who are led to believe that they don't have it. They don't have that ability, that potential. And how many times have we seen that change so quickly? People who come in with a negative mindset, and then they realize, I'm actually really good at this, and suddenly you see this light turns on, and you see this great person in really performing well, providing amazing customer service in a working environment, and then suddenly their confidence grows, and as that confidence grows, they get better and better and better. It's that kind of thing that we want to create on a larger scale. And working within organizations, obviously, we can see, we're working to develop cultures within organizations, and that really benefits the people that are involved there, and of course the business gets all the outputs and that from it. But from a community perspective, it's about teaching people how they, as I say, how they understand that culture, how do they become part of an organization, because we don't want someone just going into work and going back out again in a couple of weeks because they just couldn't handle it, they couldn't fit in, because there was no point in getting them in the first place. So it's about raising that standard, and that's what our emphasis is when we talk about communities, but raising the standard, about showing people that they really can achieve high and getting them into long-term employment, because that long-term employment is going to make a difference. It's going to take away all the negatives that exist. Right, I'll rephrase, I'll not take away all the negatives that exist, but it's going to take away a lot of the negatives that exist within communities. The likes of crime rates, for example, being one of the big ones. If we can get people into employment, they will naturally move away from that, because they'll meet new people, and it's always this: the 5 people closest to you. If you're living in a community, the 5 people closest to you are kind of doing the same things that you're doing, nothing's really going to change. Whereas if you get into a working environment and a positive culture, you start to see, hold on, here's what I'm missing out on. This is what I want to be part of. I want to be part of this, and not that anymore. And then that positive shift starts to happen.
Yeah, I think for us, we've worked with many younger people in that catch age group of 18 to 24. Younger as well, but the majority of the people we've employed in the past and have been managers and leaders of are in that age group of 18 to 24. Sean, you mentioned really fondly there, I suppose, working with some of the community groups or the training organizations like Steps to Work programs that we have assisted on. And older people, when I say older, I mean above that age group of 18 to 24, and many things don't change. I think mindset might actually be one that comes to the forefront more. And I find that language and therefore communication is one area that whenever we're dealing with new people coming in through the door, or we're dealing with them from a client perspective, we find that when just giving that person time to voice their own motivations, their own purpose, because purpose is a really interesting one. I find that when people come from a background where they maybe were a little bit disadvantaged, you do find that sport would normally be one of the things that would provide aspirational thinking. So whether it's football, whether it's boxing, whether it's gymnastics, depending on what type of sport you're into, you usually find sport a lot of times feels like the one way to get out of the scenario. And I think get out of the scenario means getting out of that mindset where you can't achieve greater than the people who are around you. And what we try to do is when we're dealing with people in the business setting, we're saying to employers, you need to create, through our impact success model that we usually work alongside them, you need to look at the mindset and you need to look at your communication. But in tandem, and they're all connected, but motivation and obviously leadership and strategy are in there as well. But mindset and motivation are 2 areas that you really need to focus on. Communicating to them and positively reinforcing your employees is super important. I've found in the past people who have worked with us, and Sean, you said it there, the speed at which people can change their mindset just from the language that you use with them, creating that environment that it's okay to feel but learn from it, and understanding that it's a safe environment to grow and to outstretch. I think we need to get away from that attitude of, look, they love themselves or he or she loves themselves. And I think a lot of us in the past maybe have fell into that mindset because of when you're younger, people have that attitude. We need to change that mindset. And one of the big things that we try to do with employees and employers is having employees ready to go, ready to, instead of getting the community aspect that we're talking about here, sorry if I go back a wee bit, digress a wee bit. The point of this is that we're trying to work with employers to create an amazing culture for their employees and attract the best people. Well, the community aspect of it is actually the part where we're trying to get people ready in the community, from the community, and working with organizations in the community to showcase people and to build their mindset through really clear communication, so that not only are they saying, I want to get a job and participate in the economy and contribute, but I don't only want a job, I want to work with that company, and here's why I want to work with that company. And many reasons, many ways, the way we do that is we allow them to work out what their core values are as people, and then try and help them identify through the cooperation with those community groups, identify the employers who best suit them. And like Sean mentioned, you mentioned there, Sean, like the long-term employment is a guarantee from that at a high ratio or percentage.
Yeah, our mission is just to sort of get back to actually what we're offering. Our mission is to support business organizations and communities to engage, enable, and empower their people. So that applies whether you're in a business, whether you're in a community, it does not matter. It's a similar process because people are similar, and that what works really well. We want to develop people, business, and community. And there's a strong link between all that, as you said there. Businesses really support communities, and we spoke to Gavin Wall on one of the last culture talks about that, about how his business was able to support his community, but he depends on the community to support his business. And because it's a local business in particular, the people working there are all local people. So there's a strong connection between the two, and this is what we found, and this is how we've ended up in this position where we're going. This is something that we have to really delve deeper into. We want to be part of this community say now. So we are, of course, focused on the business as we were, but we're adding this extra say to it now where we're kind of going, like, these can support each other. These two are connected. They can really support each other. So we want to work within communities, and we want to work on two sides of this, I suppose. One sense, we're going to work with community groups to create what you would normally create in a business, because it's more or less the same idea. You create that vision, you have the values, you create buy-in from your community. And there's lots of ways you can do that. And lots of community groups will know how to do that part of it anyway. But it's about then getting in and seeing what are the issues, what are the problems, what's the communication, what strategies do we have, who's leading this, which group's leading it, are the leaders within the community groups able to lead that? And I don't mean that in a way of putting anyone down, but it's not an easy task. You're dealing with a community. This isn't even working in the workplace with 20 to 50 employees. Maybe, this is a full community. It takes strong leadership skills to do that. And anyone in that position could do with a bit of support. I know if any of us were in that position, we could do with a bit of support as well. So it's getting in and delivering that support in order to build up a strategy, good leaders, great communication, and mindset and motivation, as you've said. So it's working on that side with the community group first and foremost. But aside from that, then, of course, working with people within the community, we have our core academy, our core trading academy. And through that, that's where we can really get deeper in. That's where we can create what we call cultural ambassadors that we use for business term. We can transfer that into the community side and really train people, teach them, educate them on how you actually keep a job. So not only how do you get into a job, but how you keep a job, how do you stay in there and sustain that, how do you build relationships within there, how do you really stand out and become one of the better employees who's going to be staying there for a long time. So doing that, doing mindset training, doing motivational coaching, motivational training, and then, of course, one of the other sides that we're going to be focused on is on one-to-ones. We can do mentorship support or coaching support. And that's really, really getting deeper into it then. And that's looking at individuals specifically and how we can really take that individual and make them a better person so that they can then support others within the community. And it creates a positive spiral. It takes away that negative spiral and starts creating a positive spiral where the community can really develop and grow. And I think it would be so effective doing this. We've done bits of it obviously before, but we haven't done it on a larger scale, but that's what we're going to start obviously getting into and doing.
Yeah, I don't know if either of us have actually said it's called Impact Community. So we have Impact Success, which is our model, but we've now tried to clearly define, I suppose, two strands or two services. But this one is one that is more like the passion project, the one where it'll help us get. I said a call, maybe that's the wrong way of describing it, but it's a step towards our vision of being a global influence on developing people, business, and, as we mentioned, communities. And we believe it all circulates around each other. So with targeted impact community, and you'll see that on our website. We will put information on here about that. But it will also, which would be probably our main strand, which would be impact business, because it always feeds back to employment and making sure that businesses are being able to produce new great talent and great people and attract new people and retain those people, as Sean mentioned. So I think for us, it's really exciting because it's something that we've chatted about. And I remember when we together came up with the concept of saying, how do we separate this out? Because Sean, you mentioned that some people were asking us, are you a social enterprise? We're not a social enterprise. We at the end of the day, we do want to make profit from what we're doing, but from the altruistic aspect, from our motivation, from our vision, we do want to make sure that we're doing good by the communities of the people, for the employees and where they come from. But therefore, perfect example there, the Wall Group, they're working within communities, making, through COVID-19, they were a lifeline for everybody. those types of spars and stores and garages that were still operating throughout everything when nobody else, not many other businesses were able to stay open. It's amazing the impact that such a business can have on a community. And those are the types of businesses that we would love to work with in these scenarios, as well as the training organizations, as well as the charities who are already doing amazing work and continue to do amazing work. We believe we can add value to it, and we have enough passion. It's one thing that people would say to us a lot. We have a lot of passion for what we do. We're so passionate about developing people, and we just want to make sure that for us, it's as I said, it's all combined: business, community, and people. If we can help all three of those aspects, then, and it might sound a bit sort of stupid, but the world can be impacted on a large scale, obviously, and then we will reach our vision of being that global influence.
Yeah, I think it's important as well just to point out some of the positive stories as well that we've had. I mean, through our own employees that we had previously, and some of the groups that we've worked with. I mean, there's sort of two sides, I suppose, the younger side and the older side. And we've had younger people coming in who had drug problems and really struggled at certain points. And now, like, these people that we're talking about are really, really grown so much in themselves and within the business. And so it's amazing to see. But on the other side, I remember one particular example, it's not going into too much detail, but it was an older gentleman which we chatted to through one of the groups who had trouble in the past. He was an alcoholic, basically, and he really, really struggled in the past. Had lots going on that, led him to that place that we would all struggle to get by. And he just couldn't get by it. But he got to the point where he had sobered up and he wanted to achieve more. And just having a conversation with him, I mean, the job he wanted wasn't something that we cater for, but we put him in a position where he could go for a job. So just to get him to that position, to hear his story, and to hear compliments afterwards that he had to say for the place that he was now in, after a few short sessions that he had chatting to us, is amazing. And as you say, that altruistic feeling, like that achievement for us, it's a bit selfish because we want it so we can feel good. But of course, that has the positive impact on everyone else, because the only reason we feel good is because we've achieved something. And I think that's what Core Impact can do. It can do it in the business, it can do it in the community. And it's all about people. And I think anybody that listens to us will know that that's what we're passionate about. We want to see people succeed. We want to see people doing well. We've come from a background where we've seen people who are troubled. Fortunately, we had strong families that were able to sort of get us to a positive point, but a lot of people don't. There's so many different circumstances, so many different situations. It could be family background, it could be they've been caught up with the wrong crowd, and they're the people that are struggling, that end up in prisons or end up in bad places, basically. And for us to be able to create an impact on that is amazing. It's an amazing opportunity, and it's something that we're looking forward to doing. And that's why we want to share this on Culture Talks today. And of course, we're going to be sharing it through all our social media as well. Yeah. It's just something we're really down to get stuck into.
Yeah, look, we'll be starting to, and you'll have probably already noticed Sean's been sort of putting a nod towards it. We have specific colours that are dedicated to the community aspect, the business aspect, and obviously Core Impact as our main logo. But it's something for us that's a big step, and I suppose it's, without being coy about it, if there is anybody who works in the community, if there is anybody who works for training organizations or businesses who are embedded in the communities, and they want to make a difference, or they want to bridge the gap or build a relationship, or there's two organizations who want to do something together, we're great facilitators. We genuinely believe that we're great at bringing people together and making something special. We've done it with teams, we've done it with businesses, and we're trying to push it in the communities now. And as Sean mentioned, it's not an easy task. It's going to take many people, but we are open. And if there's something that maybe just ticks off when you hear us saying this, or if there's an idea you've had for a while, or there's people who maybe you have an idea and you haven't got time, and there's a project that you would like facilitated and running, we're here, we're open. As much as we have an idea of how this will work, we're still open. We're open to new ideas. We're open to new opportunities. But for us, the way we believe that it's best and most impactful is working with those organisations who are employing directly from communities, and obviously the charities and the training organisations. And as I say, we have a bit of experience with working with training organisations through our previous employment and now past employment, or for post-employment, should I say, through Core Impact, and we love it. It's one of those days whenever, John, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but the days where we know we're getting to speak to people who maybe aren't in employment, and you really get to see them shine on a day where they just want a chance, they just want an opportunity. And whether it's from personal background, like you mentioned, whether it's through lack of ability, and depending on the industry that they're going into, or just training, we've been very fortunate on LinkedIn and through the entrepreneurial journey, and even from our employment, that we've met a lot of people who are always willing to help, always willing to at least point you in the right direction. And 9 times out of 10, just that will to help is what can have a massive impact on people. And I think when we're employed, sometimes we take we take for granted the support that's there when it is there. And I find that in those types of scenarios, when you have people who don't have a lot of support, even just a conversation has a massive impact on them. I know that we would do visioning exercises, for instance, with these types of groups, and the feedback's amazing. Like you feel people's barrier come down, you feel them open up as a person, and sometimes get a bit emotional, wear their heart in their sleeve, and that's where you can see that you're having an impact, because that's the easiest tell. But even if it isn't from that perspective, like we have taken people on, through Odyssey Bowl, one of our biggest clients, and we still operate that site. We've taken people on as employees from these types of events that our organisations we work with, and we met, like most of our employees actually at this point would come from training organisations who we had a brilliant relationship with. We still have incredibly high standards, but sometimes we're just willing to take a chance on somebody where other organisations weren't. And I can honestly say they're some of the best chances that we've ever taken, because they paid out. And what I mean by that is we were able to have an impact on people's lives, current employees' lives, who we call friends now, who have changed their lives around. Some of them have moved around the other side of the world and are working there, and they've come back. And some have moved on for really good reasons, and they're still friends from a distance. And we have seen it in practice. And whether that was through what we're doing with Core Impact, or what a lot of the experience came from our employment, there's no greater feeling than knowing that you had a part to play in it. Because we're not saying that it's us that does it for them; they do it. We just facilitate it. And I think that's what's exciting about this next step, because we've done a bit, but not as much as the business stuff, and that's why we're really excited to promote the community aspect of it.
And that's why we're an open door in terms of that, because even in terms of the business stuff, which we're extremely confident in, we're still an open door to listen to new ideas about that, because this is the thing about culture. Culture is different everywhere. It's different in every organization, and it's different in every community. So it just depends on where you are and who the people are. There's so many variables involved in it that you need to be right in there to understand it properly. But there's an overall process which you can look at, which then becomes bespoke to that business or that community. And that's what we want to put into place. And we know that one of the biggest challenges are that, as JP said, there's some people who just maybe don't look the part immediately. They don't fit the bill of what organizations are looking for. But there are the people that when you give them the opportunity, that they'll pay you back tenfold, because you've looked after them, you've developed them. And it's about creating, for us, it's about creating, taking away that gap between business and community, and try, because yourself, there's people there who have great ability, but just can't get into that working environment. And there may be something when they do get in there that kind of pulls them back again. And the only reason why they're pulled back again is because they don't have the support that they need to go further. Mm-hmm. So it's about creating that. It's about giving them more interview skills, and CVs and things like that are brilliant. They're needed. They are needed, but there's more than that needed. There's just that wee bit extra that's missing at the minute, which is making people go into the workplace and not stay there. And we need to do that. We need to add that standard, and we know how to do it. We've been there, we've done that, and we're very confident in that side of it. So look, there's so much here to offer. Culture, as we know, is so important. It's our business. It's so important, and it's extremely important within a community setting. a culture can be created, a positive culture can be created, and it's the groups that are there and the people that are ready that can do it.
Yeah, I think that for us, this will be an education piece for us, not only for the people we're working with, but again, I think that we could go on for ages about this, because I know what way our conversations go, and this will go on for ages if we allow it. But I suppose this won't be the first time we talk about it, it won't be the last time we talk about it. We're definitely going to be promoting it. You'll be seeing our contents and our logo slightly different for the types of content. We'll hopefully do a video for Impact Business, which is, I believe, what we already do, but from a logo perspective and the branding perspective, you'll see that there's a different strand, and moving forward, I think it's important that we share our journey as we go. We've been very fortunate, as I say, for some of the people who have promoted us and helped us along the way, whether it's mentorship or just friendship, or just learning from other people. You know, we've found that sharing our journey is the way that has given us most value back. And sometimes that can just be somebody who you know really well, who just goes, that looks crap, change it. And that's fine, that's okay. We might disagree, we might agree, but that's what we love about it, because you never know what's going to come next. So, look, Sean, I'll let you wrap it up, because I could talk for every country, but the point I'm making is, thanks very much, guys, for watching. I can't wait to share more info on it, and share more about the logo. Again, Sean's already done that, so I'm going to have to catch up. But thanks very much for watching.
So as I said at the start, our mission for business and community is engage, enable, and empower. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.